Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange, our first Sports Exchange of the 2020 year, and glad to have Mel Farr Jr. on the broadcast. Welcome back, Mel.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Happy 2021.
Happy 2021. Rick Curti, I know you were aching to see 2020 go, and, well, it did.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to 2021.
Tough ending for me at the on the back end over Thanksgiving with my mom passing away, but I know she's looking down on us and said, you know what you got to do. Quit thinking about me all the time. Well, never quit thinking about you, but we know what we got to do. And tonight here on the Sports Exchange, we're going to be talking a lot of football. We're going to talk about a couple of key headlines today, and then we're going to talk about last week's wild card round as well as this coming week's divisional round. So with that said, breaking news, Urban Meyer has now agreed to a deal to coach the Jacksonville Jaguars. Urban walks into a situation where have about $77 million of cap space, 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. And of course, it doesn't hurt when Trevor Lawrence is in the whole thing either. And a fan base that's hungry, where you do anything, you have any kind of success there. Hell of a statue outside of that Jaguar that's sitting in front of TIAA Bank Field. So Mel, what are your thoughts about Urban Meyer going to Jacksonville?
He's won everywhere that he's been. Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, Ohio State. I think that he's going to do. I think he wants to try to take it to the next level, see what he can do. I think everybody wants to challenge himself and take it to the highest level and see how well they can do. And I look for him to do. I think Urban Meyer is a great leader of men, and I think he'll do a great job there in Jacksonville. I mean, he's, like I said, he's been successful everywhere he's been, so I have no reason to believe that he won't be successful there. Doesn't hurt, like you said, that he does have the number 1 pick and Trevor Lawrence coming, so he'll have the answer to the quarterback position. And in order to compete at any level, you have to have somebody competent at that position, and he definitely will. And then again, and they'll also be able to go out in the free agent market with all that cap space and be able to attract some players, be able to get some players there. And Jacksonville is not a difficult place to attract free agents because you have no state tax there.
Right.
So that's a bonus. The weather is great there. There's another bonus. It's not a big market like, maybe a Miami, or it's not like a New York, or maybe even a Dallas, but it is a nice place to live. Great weather, no state tax, and you got a proven winner as a coach. So I believe he'll be able to attract a lot of people there, and I look forward to Jacksonville being very competitive very, very soon.
Yeah, us media guys won't beat him up too bad because there aren't as many of them there. And if he has any success, there's only 3 coaches that have ever won the Super Bowl national championship. You had Jimmy Johnson, Barry Switzer, although he had his handed to him. Jimmy Johnson, of course, you have Pete Carroll as well. So if Urban Meyer can put himself in select company, and my goodness, that would be unbelievable. Rick?
Yeah, I heard about it, and I was kind of like, wow, he's going to the pros, huh? So that should be very interesting. But like I said, $12 million a year he's reportedly getting. Doesn't hurt as well. So, and you got the number 1 pick, all this cap space in Jacksonville. It's you people are all excited about Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, and you got the Dolphins with Tua, and they're kind of like on the underground. So there's really not that pressure. I mean, if he goes 10-6 and goes to the playoffs his first year, they probably will build a statue for him. Seriously, because they've never been to a Super Bowl, and they're not really like, they're sort of a younger team. They're not too old in the NFL, so they're just trying to get some type of culture there, and getting one of the greatest coaches in college to come there is great, and getting the number 1 pick who's might be the next Peyton Manning. I mean, he's been reported to be the number 1 pick ever since he was a freshman. And I agree with Mel, no state income tax there. It's a great place to go. It's a smaller market. And so there's not that pressure to win right away where you're not like in Dallas or Alabama, where you have to win right away. So I think it's great, and I love to see it happen, and I hope he's successful. I think the only thing that might hurt him is his health. I know he's had some health problems over the last time. I know he left Ohio State, he had some health problems, and in Florida he had some health problems. So hopefully he's healthy and ready to go. And to me, that's the only thing that could probably stop him from not being successful in the NFL.
For some crazy reason, and I repeat, it's a crazy reason here. I wouldn't be surprised to see him bring in Tim Tebow in some way, shape, or form, whether it's an offensive consultant or anything like that. And Tim Tebow is obviously a local kid as well. I mean, obviously we didn't think his skills translated into the pro game. He was a good college player. He's a hard nose. He teaches work ethic. He's from the area. And you never know. I mean, again, everything will depend on his coaching staff. And I know that he's been assembling that coaching staff for a while anyway. So, it's not like this is a surprise hire. This has been in the works. I know Shad Khan has done his due diligence. I can tell you right now, can you imagine, should there be fans next year, what the spike and season tickets will be? Because right now, they're not sure if they're going to get that London game at all. No contract has been renewed, and that's what kept them in the black instead of the red. They depend on those games in London just to be able to, survive as a franchise. So again, you'll put bodies in the seats, and to me, I believe it has the makings to be a heck of a hire. I really do. And he's revered there. It's going to take time. He's not used to losing 1 or 2 games a year, and he's going to lose a lot at the beginning. So again, can he handle losing a lot of it at the beginning? Can he turn it around 5 to 7 games? I don't know if there's anybody that can do it. I think it's him, but I think right now they certainly should feel very good in Jacksonville. And with me having worked up there many times, I know what kind of a fan base and everything is all about. So kudos to the Jaguars. I wish them well. They've treated me really well, and Candy as well. So, all right, we'll go from the Jacksonville Jaguars to a team, Mel, that we're all too familiar with. The Detroit Lions hired Rams executive Brad Holmes to be their general manager. He was a finalist for the Atlanta Falcons job. He lives in the Atlanta area, and LA will be the first team to receive 2 third-round compensatory picks because of the minority incentives that were attached to this situation. He played a major role in the Rams' last 8 drafts. Among some of the names are Aaron Donald, Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Cooper Kupp. And of course, he's been, like I said, been with the Rams a long time. He started there in 2003, and obviously that's when he moved into the scouting side, but he started as an intern. And I know he was a highly coveted candidate. I think the Lions knew that he had to go ahead. They had to make a move on him, because if they didn't, I think he would have gone to the Atlanta Falcons. So once you get a guy in the building, Mel, you ought to know as well as anybody, you got to just close the deal and button it up. And bear in mind, he's just in time there to try to go ahead and have a hand in selecting the next head coach. So the Lions had to get that hire quickly. So Mel, obviously Luther Bradley, I believe, he's related to Luther Bradley, and you have deep LA ties. What are your thoughts about the Brad Holmes hire for the Lions? Did they finally get it right?
Yeah, Luther Bradley is his uncle, from my understanding. So, I don't know very much about him. What I am excited to see is that he is a minority, and they're giving a minority an opportunity. A couple of days ago, or it might have been last week, or earlier in the week, Chris Spielman had a Zoom call with a lot of the legends of the Detroit Lions. And my brother was on the call, and Chris assured us that we will see a championship in our lifetime. So I guess this could be the start of it by getting a general manager in there. The next thing we have to do is we got to get ourselves a head coach in there, and we'll take it from there. And they have to make a decision, obviously, on what they want to do with Matthew Stafford. I don't know whether or not they want to go forward with Matthew Stafford, try to trade him, and try to get some picks and just go ahead and tear this thing down to the studs, or if they want to try to add some pieces while you still have Matthew Stafford playing at a pretty high level, and see what he can do with a new head coach and a new offensive coordinator. But yeah, I'm excited about the pick. I'm excited about it being an African American, get an opportunity to have a front office position there again. I know Martin Mayhew, he had the opportunity a while ago, and so it's nice to see Bradley get this opportunity, and we look forward to seeing what he'll be able to do.
Well, the Lions did their due diligence. They had 12 interviews for the general manager job. So it's not like they picked the first 2 or 3. Obviously, I know a popular choice during the early part of the process was Louis Riddick, ESPN analyst. But I think the thing that's doomed Riddick is he's been out of it for so long and been in television so long. The Lions haven't had a lot, even though when they hired Matt Millen, you can't compare Millen to Riddick, okay? You really can't. But when you're away from it as long as you are, like Louis Riddick, and you have a lot of guys that are actively involved, that's important. Another thing I should point out, going back to Urban Meyer for a moment, he knows the college game really well, both as a commentator, and he's not that far removed from coaching as well, so that will help the Jaguars. But back onto the Lions, so I think you've got a guy that's been in an organization 17 years, and as I understand, Barry Sanders has been involved in this process as well. The Lions are trying to get all their great football minds, something that Sheila Hamp Ford has been able to do this time around, or Ford Hamp, whatever, doesn't matter. But, she's bringing a lot of people involved, a lot of opinions involved in this whole thing. And when you think about the fact they got Barry, Chris Spielman, I think they finally did some due diligence here with this guy, and he has a good track record for the Rams. So when you think of, they're just a couple of years, I think, removed from a Super Bowl appearance and the nucleus that they have. And don't discount the fact that they're still playing, and we'll get to the Rams momentarily. And I'm sure he was probably behind, or at least had a say in Jalen Ramsey being, acquired as well. So, more power to them. But they did their due diligence. They had 12 GM candidates. Rick, what do you want to add to this?
Yeah, I think it's a great hire. It's always great to see more minorities, in the NFL, and we'll see what happens. Still early in the process. Be interesting to see who they have as their coach. That's the next step for them, and we'll just take it from there and see what happens. So it's a first step, and they like you guys said, you have to see what they're going to do with Stafford. That's going to be the big question. Are they going to keep him? Is he going to leave? It might be good for him. I think it'll be good for him, sort of like a new change of scenery. He's done all he could do there. He's been great there. It's just unfortunately the culture there for so long was just not very good. But, I think this is the right step in the right direction, and kind of curious to see what they get as their head coach.
Well, I disagree with anybody that thinks Stafford should leave. Playing at the top level, he just needs a good coach, a good offensive coordinator, and who are you going to get? Who are you really going to get? Me personally, I've always loved Matt Stafford, and he's not the problem. He can be part of the solution. And Darrell Bevell, if he's hired full time, he's already indicated he's going to keep him anyways. So, I don't think the situation with Stafford. I think another guy who I think could get that job, if it isn't going to be Bevell, will be Robert Saleh, if he's not taken by the New York Jets. He's already had 2 interviews with the Jets, and he's a hot candidate. But if Saleh is gone, then I'd be anxious to see where they're going to go. I don't know whether Eric Bieniemy will be available or whether he'd want to take.
P.
What's that?
What about Dougie P? Doug Peterson.
Right now, I don't know, but could he screw up Matt Stafford? That's the thing.
Did he screw up Carson Wentz, or did they have over-evaluated him, have him overrated?
I think Carson Wentz screwed Carson Wentz up. I really do. Matthew Stafford's got 40,000 yards, 45,000 yards. He's not going to get screwed up by Peterson, but I don't think Peterson gets hired right away.
I'd like to see him go to Detroit, to be honest with you.
Would you? I have a gut feeling if Peterson goes anywhere, it would be with the Jets. That would be my guess. But it's a guess. But next week, I'm sure we'll be talking a different tune when we do this again next week. So we'll go from there. So, all right, let's go ahead and recap Wildcard week. I'm going to go each game individually. The Buffalo Bills held on to beat the Indianapolis Colts 27-24, which that game lived up to its billing as being a good football game. Phillip Rivers had a nice game, nice season, but Buffalo, a team that would scare the daylights out of anybody, did prevail. So, Mel, what are your thoughts about how Buffalo handled Indianapolis?
Yeah, I think it was a good game. Indianapolis had its chances, but for whatever reason, they just came up a little bit short. I think Buffalo, they kind of they're on a path. They're kind of have a destiny, I guess. The way they've been playing has been very intentional, and these guys are looking forward to continuing on in the playoffs and possibly making a run for the Super Bowl. So, look forward. They've grown every year. Buffalo has grown every year. They've gotten better every year. Their quarterback is playing at a high level this year. They got the wide receiver. They got Stephon Diggs. They brought him over from Minnesota, and he's been playing lights out. And with that defense has been playing. They've been playing phenomenal as well. So look forward to seeing what Buffalo can do. See if they can finally get over the hump. If they're able to make it to the Super Bowl and get over the hump and win one. But it's been good football, good to look at. Really excited for the people in Buffalo. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since they could feel good about their football team there in Buffalo. Kind of like how it's been a long time for us in Detroit as well. But
Right.
we won't get into that. But yeah, I thought it was a good game and look forward to them playing this week.
Even though that was a 2-7 seed, I don't care what the seeding is. Throw that right out the window. That was a 4 or 5 type of seeding. It's just how it worked out. So, that game lived up to expectations. It really, really, really did. Jonathan Taylor's a great running back for the Indianapolis Colts. And, of course, the Buffalo Bills has their own running back from Florida Atlantic University. Devin Singletary is a good player. And they've got a lot of good pieces over there. We're going to get to them later on when we go into this weekend's games. Rick, what are your thoughts about that Buffalo-Indianapolis game?
Oh, it was a really good game. I watched it. It was really good. It looked like Buffalo's going to run away with it. And then little by little, Indianapolis was coming back. Rivers had a good game. He had a really strong second half. He struggled in the first half. And I hope to see him again. He's still, his numbers were really good, if you look at it. So it was a good game. And, Buffalo, they haven't won a playoff game in eons, and it's so good to see them back. When I was growing up, them going to the Super Bowl all the time, 4 straight Super Bowls, and then all of a sudden they just had no success, and now they're like one of the best teams right now. And yeah, I would be afraid of them. I would, if I was Kansas City or anybody, I'd be afraid of them. So they're the team to look out for. And Josh Allen is just every year he's getting better and better. He's been an amazing quarterback in the NFL, and I didn't think he'd be that good right away. So kudos to him, and they really have it going on right now in Buffalo.
Yeah, I actually saw Jacksonville defeat Buffalo 10-3 a few years ago, but it was just good to see that they got in the playoffs at Jacksonville. And Jacksonville was on a good roll there, even with Blake Bortles, to get to the AFC Championship game. I know they fell a few minutes short, but it's good to see Buffalo competitive again and in the playoffs. And they're a product exactly what the Lions hope to follow, where you have a young general manager and a young coach on the same page. And if you duplicate that formula, then and the quarterback's there, that's a model that a lot of teams are following. Just like you have with the Rams, you got Sean McVay and Les Snead. So if you can come up with a good working combination, then you don't quit on the quarterback. You really don't. All right, the LA Rams 30, the Seattle Seahawks 20. John Wolford got hurt, but bum thumb or not, okay, Jared Goff came in there, and I'll tell you what, that Rams defense made Russell Wilson look like he should have been running for cover, because he could sue for non-support with the way the Rams defense mauled him. So, okay, Rick, your own hometown, the Rams, did you see that coming?
No, I didn't. I thought Seattle was going to win, especially in Seattle. I know they didn't have their fans. They have like one of the most loudest fans there, and unfortunately, because of COVID, they didn't have that. I was very surprised by it, Russell Wilson is an amazing quarterback, but he can only do what you can. Seattle they don't have anything. They really don't. If it wasn't for Russell Wilson there, they would be like a 5-11 team, 6-10 team without him there. So he can do all he can. They need to get an offensive line to help him instead of him running for his dear life. And the Rams look like they're playing their best football right now with their defense right now. And, Goff came and he did well, and so it was a very good game. I didn't see it happening. I had Seattle winning that game, but kudos to the Rams in that. That was like to me, a mild upset on that one. So we'll see what happens. But Seattle, they really need to they need some massive help, because Russell can't do it all by himself.
Well, Mel, obviously you have LA ties. I'm sure you had to feel pretty good that the Rams pulled that one out, weren't you?
Yeah, they look good. Defense wins championships, and their defense is playing lights out right now. Seattle, in the beginning of the year, they're talking about let Russ cook, and I don't know what happened. They started letting Russ cook a little bit. Things weren't going that well. Their big problem is they can't run the football. They have not been able to run the football. Towards the end of the year, they just had not been playing very well offensively, and obviously, that's probably one of the reasons why Schottenheimer ended up losing his job as offensive coordinator there, because they have not played well offensively. They played terribly offensively. The the way that they were able to get after Russell Wilson in that game. Russell Wilson, man, he just had no time whatsoever. And when they're not fearful, when your team is not fearful of a running game, all they do is pin their ears back and they just go for broke. And they just harassed him all day long. The Seattle has some big problems. They had some problems offensively and they had some problems defensively. I don't know if it's schematically the problems defensively or if it's personnel wise. They have some names over there. They have some names over there on the defense, but defensively they have not been playing well, and they don't scare anybody anymore like they did when they had the Legion of Boom. So there's a lot of things that have to take place over there in Seattle. I think no, I'm not sure. No, they didn't bring anybody back. But they had some things that they have to work on offensively and defensively. They got to figure out what it is, who they want to be offensively. Do they want to run the football? They're going to let Russell Wilson cook. I know Pete Carroll, he wants to run the football. He wants to run the football and he wants to play good defense. So we'll have to see what happens here in the offseason.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, well, Tampa defeated the Washington football team 31-23. I think it was interesting to see Chase Young want Tom Brady. And you know what? Chase Young's a stud. He really is. And I admire the fact that he wanted to face Brady. And I know that from what I hear, they were talking to each other after the game. But, Chase Young is going to be heard from for a long time. And Tom Brady had a pretty good game. They're playing a lot better down the stretch. Him and Arians finally seem like they're on the same page. But I think what's interesting about that game is Antonio Brown is starting to get into a rhythm here. He really is. And, of course, they have a lot of good weapons. They have Leonard Fournette. But, I got to give the Washington football team a lot of credit with the backup quarterback taking over. Was it, I think, Taylor Heineke, I believe it is?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, this kid here deserves a chance to compete for the starting job for Washington. They're going to draft a quarterback anyways because they're not sure what's going to happen with Alex Smith. I think for Alex Smith just to even play this year is going out on top. And full well that I believe the Washington football team will draft a quarterback. We won't get into that now. But what are your thoughts about the Tampa-Washington game, Mel?
It was a good game. Tampa's one of those teams that offensively, you can see they're getting better week in and week out. They're getting more comfortable with one another. They didn't have the OTAs. They didn't have training camp or a long training camp to try to work on getting that rhythm and developing a chemistry. With Tom Brady didn't have the opportunity to develop a chemistry with the wide receivers and the tight ends. So he's kind of had to do that in season. And you see that they're playing better offensively. Whereas teams like, Seattle, as we talked about, and Pittsburgh, they're playing their worst football at the worst possible time when they need to be playing their best football. So right now, offensively, Tampa Bay is playing some of their best football. And I was very impressed with the quarterback for Washington. I mean, he played lights out. I mean, he gave them every opportunity to win, a lot more of an opportunity than the guy they ended up letting go from Ohio State. I can't think of his name right now.
Dwayne
Haskins.
I mean, I couldn't believe this guy. I mean, the guy was on the streets, 60 days ago, and I think he was, taking some classes online, and he played lights out. I mean, he played outstanding football. Real happy for him in the way that he performed, and I think he's earned an opportunity to at least compete and be on somebody's roster next year as a backup, if not, possibly have an opportunity to start somewhere.
Well, first of all, this kid here, came off the practice squad because they were really running into problems. And you know what? This kid here is headed to your territory, Rick, out in Charlotte. I think they're giving him a look. So, but we'll talk about Haskins another time. But yeah, there's no question. I think he caught the attention of Ron Rivera with the mobility and the poise he showed under very tough circumstances. So, Rick, what's your take out of the Tampa-Washington game?
Well, it was a really good game. Heineke actually used to be a quarterback for the Panthers. So, Ron Rivera was a head coach there. So that's one of the reasons he got him there. And then he was in the XFL with the St. Louis Battlehawks. So he is a good quarterback. I've seen him play a couple times.
Backup with the Battlehawks.
Yeah, he was a backup there. Yep, exactly. So, and, he played very, very well, and I mean, that division, it was a very good division. So, and I think everybody had Tampa Bay winning it. And he just said, there's no pressure on me. I'm going to play lights out. And he played really, really well. And a lot of people on Twitter were just praising him and just saying, hey, man, you're great. So, why not be for the starting quarterback job, and I think the question mark is Alex Smith going to come back? He's still playing. He played great for a guy who hadn't played football in 2 years, a guy that almost died, a guy that almost got his leg amputated. Man, he played well. I mean, he was the reason why the Washington football team went to the playoffs. Before him, they had Haskins with all his issues and drama, and they looked like they were a mess. So we'll see what happens with Alex Smith, but another notch for Tom Brady, and it's going to be a great game between him and Breeze.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, the draft this year has some really good quarterbacks, so there's no doubt a franchise quarterback, or quarterback of the future, I should say, should fall to Washington. But yes, indeed, you guys are right about that. All right, let's talk about the Sunday games. Baltimore beat Tennessee 20-13. You know what? You had Lamar Jackson against Derrick Henry. I told you I saw Derrick Henry play. He's a stud, but I'll tell you, Lamar Jackson got the monkey off his back by finally winning a playoff game. So all the people in the media can leave him alone, got the win, and now find something else to talk or write about. So, all right, Rick, what are your thoughts about the Tennessee-Baltimore game?
Well, that was a great game. I was excited to see Henry, and they stopped him. They really did. They just crowded the box and just got him, and he had nowhere to go. So, I mean, they did a great job in planning to stop him. And Jackson, yeah, you're right. He got that monkey off his back. People have been criticizing him. I've been hard on him as well, saying, he needs to win, and he did, and went to Tennessee, and it was a good win for them. And we'll see what happens with the Ravens, but a great solid win for them. And, Tennessee had a great year, and they've been improving, and, it wasn't that long ago that they were not that good. So, they got a great, to me, the best running back in the NFL, Henry. And just unfortunately, you just got to tip your hat off to Baltimore and Jackson for just playing a great game.
Well, I do know that the offensive coordinator for Tennessee is interviewing for head coaching jobs, Mel. So what's your take on the Baltimore Ravens going into Music City and earning a victory in Tennessee?
Well, I mean, they did what they needed to do. They went in there and they made Tennessee one-dimensional. If you're going to beat us, Tannehill is going to beat us. Henry is not going to beat us. And they stacked the box and they kept him under control. And by doing that, they're also able to control Ryan Tannehill. Now, the question that Lamar has to answer is whether or not a team with a predominantly running quarterback can win a Super Bowl. That's the next question that they have to answer. Yeah, you won a playoff game, but you're not in this thing to win playoff games. You're in this thing to win Super Bowl. So now we have to see if we can take it to the level where if you can win it all with a predominantly running quarterback, and if you're able to do that, you'll probably see a lot of things change in the NFL. Hell, they might even come back and bring the wishbone back. Who knows? I don't know. But it will be interesting to see if you can win it all with a great defense and a quarterback that is predominantly a runner.
Like we need any more trends to take place in college, but yeah, there's certainly, Mel, like you said, a great deal of intrigue to what you're talking about for sure. All right, well, the Chicago Bears and New Orleans Saints, 21-9. I think the Bears defense simply wore out. I mean, you got to score some points. You really do. They didn't look good in their loss to Green Bay at the end of the year, and they certainly looked a lot worse. And yet, meanwhile, the general manager and the head coach at least retained their job for one more year, although the Bears will be looking for another quarterback. But we'll talk about the game first and foremost. Drew Brees over Mitch Trubisky. If this wasn't a mismatch, tell me what the word mismatch is, Mel Farr.
I mean, Chicago had their chances in this football game. New Orleans left the door open for them on multiple occasions to be able to stay in this football game, and Chicago just wasn't able to answer the bell. They just can't do anything efficiently, offensively, with Trubisky at the helm. And it's unfortunate because they got a very, very good defense. Their defense, with that type of defense, you're going to have an opportunity to win football games.
Right.
It's just unfortunate that the quarterback, the coach is an offensive coach, I guess, guru, and they can't get anything out of that. They can't get anything out of the offense. They can't score any points, and that's in this league you have to be able to put some points up on the board in order to win. And it's just unfortunate for Chicago. I was rooting for Chicago. not obviously, but I was rooting for Chicago, and unfortunately for Tampa Bay, because New Orleans did win that. Well, because they did win that game. That's who they have to play, and Tampa Bay has not played New Orleans very well. New Orleans has had their way with Tampa Bay, but it's very difficult to beat a team, twice in a year. It's really difficult to beat a team 3 times. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, but the main thing is Chicago hasn't had a franchise quarterback since 1940. I believe it was Sid Luckman was the last franchise quarterback that they had. And more importantly, when you think about it, the one that they had that pretty much resembled a franchise quarterback to me would have been Jim McMahon. And I love Jim McMahon in 1985, and they ran him out of town. So,
Game was
but
different.
New Orleans was way too much for Chicago for sure. And 8-8 get you in the playoffs. Give him another year and see what happens. What are you going to say, Mel?
No, I was just saying that, when Jim McMahon was at the helm, the game was different too. I mean, it was more run-oriented. Now, the quarterback has a lot more responsibilities on the quarterback now.
Right.
Other than, well, even with Baltimore, there's a lot of responsibility on Lamar at the quarterback position, but not to throw the football, but to be able to run the football.
So, Rick, your observations about New Orleans, Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't a big surprise. I think Chicago was like the weakest team to get in there. I mean, I think, the Washington team was better. It just was not a big surprise. I've never been sold on Trubisky. I said he's overrated, and they drafted him way too high. He played in Chapel Hill, so I saw a lot of the games, and he was just like whatever. But it was such a weak quarterback draft that year and the general manager of the Bears should be lucky so has his job, because he's the one that drafted Trubisky, and not only that, but he went up a spot and gave away some draft picks to get him. And Trubisky, to me, has just been a nothing but, a disappointment. But I'm not really surprised. So we'll see what happens with the Saints. It's gonna be the game right there, Brady versus Breeze. But yeah, I agree with Mel that the Bears have a very, very good defense. Just they cannot score points, and Trubisky is the weak link. And I mean, if I was the Bears, it would not be hard for me to think of what to do. It's time to move on and get a new quarterback, because Trubisky is just not the answer.
Well, I know when people say, well, we could have had this quarterback, we could have had that quarterback. I don't know that when you're drafting quarterbacks, so they're really going to turn out. Yeah, I mean, sure, Deshaun Watson went behind it, but I don't buy that.
Or Mahomes, yeah.
Right. I don't buy that. You know what? If the job was so easy that we can evaluate quarterbacks, so we'd be in it instead of the people that are actually doing it. That's the quarterback that they felt. They went after him, didn't work out, but life goes on. I think there's another they could draft another quarterback if they wanted to. I think this quarterback draft is deep. One more game from last week, and amazingly enough, when I thought that Pittsburgh rested their starters, that they were hoping that they'd get the favorable matchup with Cleveland, and that they had won 17 straight at home. Well, you know what? They didn't work out so good, because they got Cleveland. And Cleveland was without their head coach, Kevin Stefanski, and they had a couple of coaches out, a couple of players. Didn't stop Baker Mayfield from taking care of business. But, all right, Rick, so 48-37 in favor of Pittsburgh with a substitute coach. My goodness, this one shocked a lot of people.
Yeah, when I saw it was 28-0, I had to like what? And like the Browns? And I go, the Browns. And I was like, what happened to Pittsburgh? They just absolutely fell apart. My goodness gracious, and now what's going to happen with Roethlisberger now? Is he going to come back? Is he going to stay? He's got 1 year left. That's going to be interesting right there. But you got to give it to the Browns. I've been calling them the bad news Browns. They've been the bad news Browns for a long, long time. And, I talk about Alex Smith being comeback player of the decade. How about Stefanski? He should be coach of the millennium or the 100 years. I mean, to get this team that has no culture of winning, that has just been bad luck and just not do anything. And look what he's done. And they just made a huge statement. And and then you hear Pittsburgh crying. You hear Juju should have kept his mouth shut for one thing. I think hopefully he learned his lesson, but nobody saw this coming. Nobody. I mean, I think some people may have had Cleveland winning the game, but not like this, not a 20-0 route like this on the road. And Pittsburgh had all their starters. So Pittsburgh's got some questions right now to answer, see what happens with Roethlisberger. But you really got to give it to the Browns, and they have surprised me right now. So good luck. I'm happy for them.
Well, Pittsburgh's made some coaching changes today, as I understand it. So, obviously Mike Tomlin trying to get that staff in order. And Ben Roethlisberger, by the way, I think is set to make $41 million. So if he comes back, they're going to have to rework that contract and give him some more pieces. So they'll be anxious to see what happens in Steeltown. So Mel, were you really surprised that the Cleveland Browns, shorthanded, were able to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in their own field?
No, not really. I mean, you look at how Pittsburgh's been playing as of late. They haven't been playing that well.
Right.
They can't run the football, and they couldn't run the football on that day. And then they turned the ball over a lot. When you turn the ball over the way they turn the ball over, you give Cleveland, who they're a good football team. They have some good players on their side. Those guys get paid every other Monday too.
Right.
And you turn the ball over the way that they did, it's gonna be, you make it very difficult. Man, it's gonna be uphill all day long. They turned the ball over, gave Cleveland a short field, and Cleveland was able to take advantage of it and come out with touchdowns and that field goals. And when you get behind like that, and you have to have Big Ben drop back 50 to 60 times, that's not a recipe for winning football.
Oh, it is.
It's a recipe for disaster, and you're probably going to be on the short end of that stick. And they ended up on the short end of that deal. And they have a lot of things that they have to evaluate. They got a great defense. They got a young defense. They had some injuries on the defensive side of the ball for some key players that they're obviously going to get back next year. I see they just got rid of their offensive coordinator, and they also got rid of the offensive line coach, if I'm not mistaken. So there's some things that philosophy-wise, we know what Pittsburgh is. We know who they are. We know what they want to do. James Conner doesn't look the same as he did in years past. I don't know what's going on there, but they've got to be able to run that football and have the threat of being able to run the football, and that opens up everything else for them. You can't ask Ben to drop back 56 times a game. It's just not going to be good. I mean, you see what he's a little careless with the ball. I mean, you see how many interceptions he threw last week, and I don't know if his arm is, if it's ever going to be the way it was prior to his injury. I don't know if Big Ben will ever be the Big Ben that he used to be, after the surgery that he had. So they have some questions to answer at that position as well.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to the divisional round here of the tournament. First game on Saturday takes place at 4:35 Eastern time. The LA Rams take on the Green Bay Packers. Well, this is what the Packers have played for, an opportunity to play cold weather games at Lambeau Field. Aaron Donald and company, of course, they'll have Jared Goff at the helm. The backup quarterback should be Blake Bortles. John Wolford has been ruled out for it. So, Jared Goff will be playing on a bum thumb. So, Mel, what are your takes about the Rams in Lambeau Field?
The defense is going to give them a chance. The defense, they got the number one defense. That's going to give them an opportunity. Maybe give them some short fields, give them an opportunity to get some cheap points on the board, some easy points on the board. I'm sure it's going to be difficult with Goff only having this surgery 3 weeks ago. That cold weather, I can't imagine that's going to help. So, it's going to be tough. But I mean, football this time of the year is tough. I don't care who it is. Everybody's a little banged up. But I feel that because of the offensive inefficiencies that or deficiencies of the Rams, I think that Green Bay will probably win this game.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I have Green Bay in this. I mean, they're in Lambeau Field, the cold. You got LA. Yeah, they don't get snow up there. Trust me, I'm from there. So that's going to be problematic for them. Rams are a little banged up. Rodgers is playing at a high caliber. He's probably going to be the MVP. They just look really good. The Packers, to me, this is like the thing that's going to keep the Rams is the defense. That's it. If they can pester Aaron Rodgers like they did with Russell Wilson, it's a tall order, but they can do it. I mean, they'll keep him in the game, but I just think Green Bay is just a better team. And Rodgers is playing out of his mind, and they're playing it in Lambeau Field and in the cold. So I have the Packers winning this, and I just think it's going to be a pretty one-sided game. I think, like I said, it'll start out slow. I think the Rams defense will do well, but the Packers is just too much.
I'm not going against Aaron Rodgers in this football game in Lambeau Field. He
Yeah.
won his second Super Bowl title. you never know. Would he want to retire at that particular point, going out on top? Although I don't think Aaron Rodgers is ready to retire. He's got some great football ahead of him, records to be broken in number, and more importantly, you get a second Super Bowl in Green Bay, let alone a first Super Bowl. You know, but yeah, no, there's no way I'll go against Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau Field for sure. Green Bay, I don't know. I'd say at least 10 points. And, you know, again, if Aaron Donald keeps them at least close, it'll be competitive for 3 quarters. But again, we don't know what type of weather conditions are in store. I just know they're going to be cold. So Rodgers all the way by at least 10 points. Well, I'll tell you what, you want to talk about the game of the week, Baltimore against Buffalo. Snow, they're looking at snow in the forecast, slick field. This is the first meeting in the playoffs for these two teams. Baltimore's won the last 3 regular season meetings. And, you know, Buffalo goes into this game with a 7-game winning streak, and Baltimore goes in with a 6-game winning streak. So, you know, you got Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and, of course, you got Stephon Diggs, who's playing out of his mind. Devin Singletary can be pretty quiet. Well, he could come out. You never know. Depends on how efficient they are with the field conditions. So, Mel, why don't you take a stab at this Baltimore-Buffalo game?
Yeah, I want to make a point on the last game, the Rams and Cleveland, real quick. You know, Green Bay is going to be without their All-Pro tackle.
Right.
Hurt his leg, hurt his knee. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. That could be big here as well. With Aaron, you know, with that defensive line that the Rams have and being able to get after Aaron Rodgers. But Buffalo game and Baltimore game, I'm looking forward to it. These are two teams that like to run the football, want to run the football, want to play hard-nosed, smash-mouth football, the kind of football that we kind of grew up on. Well, it's going to be a tough game to pick. You know, as much as I like Baltimore and their defense and what they're able to do defensively, I just don't think that Lamar does enough for them offensively, throwing the football to give them a chance to win. I think that Josh Allen does do enough, even though, you know, he runs the football, he moves pretty well. He runs with the football and he moves pretty well. But obviously, he throws the ball much better than Lamar does. And so I think that the Buffalo will have a package to be in place to be able to contain Lamar Jackson, to try to make him beat them with his arm and not with his legs. I think that McDermott is smart enough to try to, you know, to put that into place, and I think that Buffalo will win this football game.
Yeah, I think the only thing that stops Lamar Jackson from running is the snow and the slick conditions. Because if you have a clear football field and there are no snowy conditions, I give him a puncher's chance. But I think that when you're dealing with a very, very, like I say, a very mobile quarterback that can run, that's what Lamar will have his way. All right, before I get on to my prediction, Rick, give me your thoughts on this football game.
Yeah, I have Buffalo winning this. I don't think it's going to be as close as a lot of people think it is. I just think the NFL, you know, you just need to be a pocket quarterback. I just don't believe that the NFL you could be a running quarterback like a Lamar Jackson, you know, to win it all. In the NFL, in college, it works, but in the NFL, it's totally different.
Right.
And you know, Josh Allen's a pocket quarterback, and he can run too. He is good at that. He's deceiving because he's so tall. A lot of people don't expect him to be a fast runner, but Buffalo's so hungry right now. You know, they've been waiting for this for like decades, you know, because they've been so bad. And I just really have them winning in this. I just think right now they're playing really, really well. And Baltimore, like I said, they're going to, like Mel said, they're going to force Lamar to throw the ball, and they're not going to get him to run. They're going to stop him to run. And I just don't see him running for 100 yards. I think he's going to have like a lot of attempts, and he's going to struggle. And I have Buffalo win this pretty easily.
Okay, well, bear in mind that while I've talked about Lamar Jackson not having a lot of experience playing in the snow, Josh Allen played for the University of Wyoming Cowboys.
Yeah.
They play in snow up there. They really do. And he's a pretty mobile quarterback, but obviously he's known for his passing as well. But don't put nothing past Josh Allen from a mobility standpoint. He knows how to get the yards that he does. He can do both. It just so happens on a running side, Lamar Jackson does the running a whole lot better. But nobody wanted to play for quarterback in Buffalo. They developed their own, and this guy here, you know, along with Jim Kelly, he may be looking at 2 quarterback statues out there, and he'll definitely be headed for the Ring of Honor. But yeah, I like the Buffalo Bills in this football game. They seem like to me to be a team of destiny. They really do. And I love everything that they're doing. I pointed out to you that you have a good general manager and a good coach on the same page. And again, this is a formula for success. So I'll give Buffalo a win, but I probably give them a 7-point win. I think it could be very interesting. And I only say 7 because of the weather conditions. Could keep it a little closer. Excuse me. All right, we'll talk about Sunday. England Browns get their coach back. Kansas City Chiefs. That game starts at 3:05 out in Kansas City. All right, Rick, lead off with this one.
Now, I can't go against Patrick Mahomes. Kansas City's defending champions. They want to prove that they want to break that that curse of the Super Bowl. Like, you get in and the next year you're not that good or whatever. So they're just playing great. Patrick Mahomes is like one of the best quarterbacks, or to me the best quarterback in the NFL right now. And Andy Reid, and they just got everything going for them. They're in Kansas City and Cleveland. You've had a great year. You shocked me with Pittsburgh, especially going up 28-0. So I didn't see that coming, but I just have Kansas City winning this. And if Browns win this, man, I'll, I'll really tip my hat off to them. But I just think Kansas City, their offense is just so explosive. And I just love everything about Patrick Mahomes. He's so calm. He's poised. You don't see him getting erratic or yelling or screaming. He's just calm, and I just love his demeanor and how he plays the game. So I have Kansas City winning this.
Well, you'll be talking about it next week, so we'll find out what you really have to say about this football game. All right, Mel Farr, take a stab at this game.
Yeah, Kansas City hasn't really been playing that well as of late towards the end of the season offensively. They've just looked a little bit out of sorts for whatever reason. Mahomes been a little, he's been a little erratic. He hasn't been the same Patrick Mahomes that he was last year. He's been a level below, which, still good because, he played so outstanding last year. It might be impossible for him to repeat the performance that he had last year. But offensively, they haven't been playing as well. So it concerns me. They kind of been playing down to their competition as of late. And then seemed like when they needed to turn it on, then they would go ahead and turn it on and just eke out with a win, as opposed to just going for the juggler where they know they're so much more talented offensively than other teams that they just need to go for the juggler and hang a half 100 on everybody because they're capable of doing that. So we'll see. Cleveland is a good football team. They got some good players. They've got some good guys. They play very good on the defense side of the ball that could cause some problems for Kansas City. So we'll see. I still expect Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to come out with a win, but I do think it'll be a good football game, probably a lot closer than a lot of people think.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Cleveland proved that they can move the football. Mayfield's maturing more and more by the game, that's for sure. So, I think it'll be an interesting football game, but ultimately Kansas City does move on to the next round. So I don't know. I'm not going to put a point number on this. You got Baker Mayfield against Patrick Mahomes. It is a pretty interesting matchup at this time of the year, that's for sure. And two guys that are relatively young quarterbacks that are the future of the National Football League. One's won a Super Bowl. The Cleveland Browns are further ahead of the where they may be able to be, if they get to the Super Bowl the next couple of years or so, there'll only be 3 teams that have never been there. We don't really need to mention the other ones, but Cleveland's definitely on the right track. All right, the final game of the weekend, 6:40, Tampa Bay Buccaneers go to New Orleans. New Orleans Saints have had Tampa's number over there. They're 2-0 against Tampa, and they've 2-0, and they've won them pretty convincingly. The last time they faced each other was in November. Does anything change here, Mel Farr?
Thanks to the Rams beating the Seahawks, this is what Tampa Bay gets. They get the opportunity to face New Orleans in the divisional round. New Orleans, they're another team that's they kind of limped into the playoffs. They played okay last week. They didn't play great. They played okay, in my opinion, against Chicago. I think they gave Chicago plenty of opportunities to hang in that football game and even come out with a W. New England, the Tampa Bay, like we said, they've been kind of ascending as of late offensively, kind of getting their timing together, getting the chemistry together. It's just going to, Kamara's going to be difficult to deal with. offensively. I believe that Tampa Bay can win this. I think, every time they played, I think the margin of victory has gotten smaller. I believe. I think they got blown out the first time. It was a little bit closer the second time. And I think that I think this is another team that kind of feels like it's their destiny, especially with Tom Brady and him leaving New England. I think him having a huge chip on his shoulder, a lot that he wants to prove. I believe that Tampa Bay will come out and win this game. I think they'll do Tom Brady's going to do whatever it is that he has to do in order to make sure they come out of this game victorious.
Michael Thomas did get a touchdown in that last game in Chicago. So if New Orleans could get him playing at a high level, life could be difficult for Tampa. Then again, though, the other element that you have is Antonio Brown is coming at the right time, even though some of the Buccaneers receivers and weapons are down. So, Rick, before I go into a prediction, you're going to talk about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is going to be a great game. You got two Hall of Fame quarterbacks, no doubt Hall of Famers. We'll see what happens with Breeze. There's rumor that he might retire at the end of the season. We'll see what happens with that. It's going to be a great game. I do have Tampa Bay winning this game. I think they'll win by a field goal. It's going to be a close game. I'm just not really sold on the Saints, to be quite honest with you. I think they're overrated, and I don't know about if Breeze is still. I mean, he's come back from a lot of injuries, he's been rusty, and he's 41 years old. And and he's still a phenomenal quarterback. I just think Tom Brady has so much to prove. I think he's just delighted that the Patriots missed the Super Bowl. I think he's just so happy with that because now he's shown people that I was the one that made the Patriots successful, not Belichick. It was me. If it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have won those Super Bowls. And he's proven it right now. His numbers are phenomenal for someone who's 43 years old to have that much, like, was it 4,600 yards, 40 touchdowns at 43 years old is astonishing. He's like, I think he joined Blanda. I think he's the oldest quarterback now, I think, in the playoffs. So he's just amazing. I mean, he looks fantastic. He looks like he can play for another 5 years. So I like Tampa Bay in this. I just think they're the better team, and they're really red hot right now. They're connected on all cylinders. Where in the early of the season they looked disjointed. They looked confused, and now they're really playing at a very high level, and they're playing red hot. And like I said, I'm just not really sold on the Saints at all, to be quite honest. I think they're overrated.
Yeah, I mean, New England didn't make the playoffs, period. They didn't even get in the tournament. And I
Yeah.
believe, like Mel said, Tampa's ascending at the right time. And New Orleans, I don't know, they'll go as far as, their receivers will take them. But I think the biggest X factor in this football game is it's hard to beat a team 3 times in 1 year.
Yeah.
3. Don't you think, Mel, you've done this, you've been in this game long enough that when you got enough game film after 2 games, you'd like to think you're going to learn a thing or two, right, Mel? By the time third time, as they say, should be the charm, right? And
Yeah.
Tom Brady's on a mission. He's really, Bill Belichick is looking at Tom Brady, like Rick said, I told you so, I could do it without you. And so far, but this is a good football game. That's why he came into this division, so he can go ahead and line up against Drew Brees. Now, albeit Drew Brees is 5-2 against Tom Brady in games, but this could be 5-3. I like Tampa Bay in this football game too. I really, really do. But the real reason I like him is not only will Brady perform well in the clutch, watch out for Antonio Brown. Those two have connected for a few touchdowns the last couple of weeks. They really have. They're getting insane. Remember, it was Brady that lobbied to get Brown there. I believe Brown is staying with Brady in the first place, and Antonio's having fun for a change. I don't think he can play with another quarterback anyways. Of course, when you idolize Tom Brady, it's probably hard to do that. So I'm with you guys for sure on Tampa. Doesn't mean we make these predictions that we're right, but you know what? We're in a position where we can do them, right? So we'll see what happens. So, but meanwhile, glad to have you guys back here, and we're going to do it again next week, and we're going to keep Mel busy even during the off season as well. But so we have a lot of things going on this week in football. We're obviously we're not here because of the holiday situation, so we're trying to get you caught up. We'll pare it down a little bit more with next week's predictions as well as some major news developments, which I'm sure we're going to get a lot of over the course of the next 7 days. So, Mel, any closing thoughts about what you are looking for over the weekend?
Looking forward to some good football, that's for certain.
Right.
I've always, this is the best time of the year for football, playoff football. There's nothing like it. So I'm looking forward to seeing some great games this weekend and see who comes out victorious. It's going to be interesting. You got some new guys in there. Tampa Bay obviously being in there, having this opportunity because they got Tom Brady. It's going to be exciting, and of course, for what's going on up there with the Bills Mafia, you got to be excited for the people up there in the Eastern New York or Western New York rather, and for with what's going on with Buffalo. So looking forward to all these games and see what happens.
What are your thoughts, Mel, about the national championship game with Ohio State and Alabama? I know Alabama looked pretty good. Devontae Smith looks like he'd be a lock to go to Miami if they're smart, and to pair him up with Tua. I think Tua needs an impact weapon, and Devontae Smith. And we're going to get into that another time. But I'm curious. We did have the national championship game between Ohio State getting it 7-0 and Alabama played a lot more games. Any observations, Mel, about what Monday night was like?
Yeah, Alabama's a good football team. Nick Saban's a good coach. Year in and year out, they're going to be there at the Alabama Invitational at the end of the year. So it's just it's Alabama and everybody else. That's kind of how it looks, and it's probably going to be that way until Nick Saban decides that he doesn't want to coach anymore. The game kind of with all the weapons that they have on offense, and you just say, well, man, the guy caught 12 balls for 215 yards in the first half, and it wasn't like Ohio State didn't know he was the Heisman Trophy winner. It's not like they didn't know who he is or who he was, but they didn't do anything to try to stop him. I just don't understand what, I guess you don't get the extra preparation like you normally do playing a national championship game, but they've known all along who this guy is and what he's capable of doing. It's just unbelievable. The guy can be running wide open the way that he runs wide open. But they have so many people that you have to deal with. You can't really double anybody because anybody can hurt you. The running back can hurt you. Mac Jones played outstanding. They had 444 yards or something like that passing. I think, he hurt his leg and he stayed in there. He played tremendously this year. What Nick Saban is able to do year in and year out is truly remarkable. It just shows you the type of coach that he is. And the one thing that kind of stands out to me is he couldn't get it done at the professional level for whatever reason. Maybe he didn't give himself enough time to see if he could do it. I don't know. Maybe he could have went back and did it, kind of like Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll didn't do very good when he was first there. Went to college for a little while, won there, got his confidence back up again, went back to the NFL and won, was very successful. Maybe Nick could do it at the NFL level. I mean, I believe that he could if he really wanted to. And so that's the only thing that kind of scares me a little bit about Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville opportunities. I don't know if there's any better at the college level than Nick Saban. I don't think there is anyone better. He's won 7 national championships.
Right. Well, Nick Saban was 15-17 with the Miami Dolphins. I just simply think that he wanted to go back to the college game when an opportunity like Alabama comes calling. That's the one job you don't turn down. You really don't. Obviously, the tradition, the national championships, what you've got there. So
Miami wasn't a bad job.
What's that? No, it wasn't a bad job, but the Alabama was a better job. And to be able to, and obviously it's pretty hard to second guess what he's done because of the success that he's had. Rick, some observations about the national championship game.
Well, congrats to Nick Saban. He passed Bear Bryant, most wins. To me, he's the greatest college coach ever. We're going to talk about him forever as one of the greats ever. They were just explosive. I thought this was going to be a very close game, but Ohio State did a Clemson was just like, wow. And I did have Alabama winning this game. I thought it'd be a close game. It was not close at all. And so they're just so explosive right now. Nick Saban's the greatest college coach ever. And I think the reason why he did leave Miami, I just think he didn't like the NFL. I think he saw that he's coaching a bunch of millionaires, bunch of adult millionaires entitled. And then when he goes to college, these kids are broke. They're trying to groom themselves. They're trying to grow. And I think he likes working with young kids where he can make them grow, where you're not going to make a 30-some-year-old guy who has a mansion and drives, has 20 cars, and he's famous. And he's gonna look at Nick Saban like, I don't care who you are. Who do you think you are? I've been in the league for 8 years. You're new here. I don't care what you did in college. So I think that's the reason why he left. And I just think he realized it's not great. I'm gonna go back to college, and that's where I had my success, and the rest is history.
Yeah, Rick, I think you nailed it all the way. The fact that he can develop young kids and adults, and then you come back and see what they've done. Mel, I mean, you ought to know this as well as anybody, how, with your the work that you do with youngsters, that I'm sure you can appreciate what Nick Saban is trying to do to take young adults and turn them into adults, and then being able to go back there and, see them come back on campus and be proud of where they came from. Anytime you have a coach that could be a father figure to youngsters, that to me is a pretty good thing there. I mean, I've never met Nick Saban before. I know he's probably not the easiest to get along with. I'm sure he has a hard side, but I'm sure he has a soft side like we all do. So with
Yeah.
that said,
And he's getting paid equal to what professional coaches get paid too. So, why not?
yeah, I agree. But meanwhile, we had a great broadcast today. Next week, I expect us to do better. We're going to have more to work with. We had a lot to work with today. So every time we go out there, we do the best we can to make sure fans that you have everything you need. And we try to give it to you the best way we possibly can. With that said, Mel Farr, I want to let everybody know what you're about and how they get a hold of you.
You can reach me on all the social media at Mel Farr Jr. That's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. My email address is melfarjr, MELFARRJR @gmail.com. And you can kind of see what we have going on for the youth here in Atlanta and also in Detroit at melfar.org. Now, we're not going to have the camp this year, obviously because of COVID, but so we're going to pause it this year, but we'll come back next year and we'll put on those camps for the kids.
Very good. All right, Rick, well, you had a little announcement about Gastonia baseball. Why don't you get that in before you get to your Charlotte stuff? Go ahead. I'm very curious about how this name turned out when you had different names before. So go out there and let it out there, Rick.
Well, the Gastonia is getting a new professional baseball team. They used to have the Grizzlies there. They're going to be in South Carolina now. So the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball is looking to expand, and they reached out to Gastonia. Now they got a brand new stadium there. They just announced their team name called the Gastonia Honey Hunters. Pretty cool looking logo. I think it's going to be great for the city of Gastonia. It's kind of they've had some bad luck with their jobs leaving there. And I think bringing a professional baseball team will really elevate it. They're already going to have restaurant and a brewery next door. So, and it's going to be a multi-purpose stadium where they're going to play like lacrosse, and they're going to play other games as well. And probably some soccer as well, and moving that at the park. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll be going to a game. The stadium looks great. I'm actually going to be going down there on Saturday, kind of check out the stadium and everything. So I'm kind of excited, but yeah, I'm kind of excited to see Gastonia getting this. And I'm really happy for the city, because this is really going to be, no pun intended, a home run.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so once you let everybody know your contact information, I'll wrap it up, and then you'll do the COVID message, Rick. Go ahead, continue on.
Okay. Well, you can contact me on Facebook at Charlotte MLB. I'm also have a page on there, Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm also on on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curti, Curti. And you can also check us out on our website at www.charlottebats.com. And our email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com.
Very good. All right, folks, you're listening and watching the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan of Motor City Madmouth. Pleased to be joined by Mel Farr Jr. and Rick Curti. As far as our contact information is concerned, on Twitter, you can reach us at Tribune South, with the @ Tribune South. Facebook and Instagram, South Florida Tribune Gets It Done. We have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it. South Florida Tribune. All it takes is a click, you're subscribed, and you get to see the visual version of the broadcast. Our website's www.southfloridatribune.com. Rick Curti does a wonderful job helping us promote on social media all the content that comes. We can never thank you enough, Rick. We have information for media distribution partners, our columnists, as well as all the broadcasts can be found down there as well. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Scott Morganroth. And of course, if you want to hear the audio version of the broadcast, you can do so through Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast. So lots of different ways to hear us and watch us. And we have a lot of things that we're working on that I'll give you updates on over the next couple of weeks. But glad to have you both back on. Miss you guys quite a bit. But, you know, obviously right now the holidays, and I had a lot of other things I was dealing with. But we have a lot of work to do over the next few weeks, guys. So be ready to go. We have a lot of football to talk about. And when football's done, we probably have the colleges. So Mel Farr, you're not going away anytime soon, my friend. So Merrick, why don't you go ahead and give the COVID-19 message, please, before we wrap up the show.
Well, guys, you know, right now, you know, things are really, it's not very good right now. Deaths have gone up, hospitalizations have gone up. You know, I go on here all the time and I just tell people it's just important. Please wear a mask, social distance. Don't be stupid. Don't go to parties. Don't just avoid just being, you know, it's hard. I know it's hard being away from your loved ones and being away from your friends. I miss it. I mean, it's been bad, but you know, we have this pandemic going on. We haven't seen anything like this since 1918 with the Spanish flu. Just wear a mask, use some common sense, be safe, because it's just not worth dying over. It really isn't. So we're going to get through this. Vaccine shots are coming. We're getting a new president. Hopefully things will, you know, improve and see what he does. And it's good. We're going to get through this. You know, it's just right now we're just going through the hard part right now. But social distance, wear a mask, you know, wash your hands, and just please be safe.
Well, you tip my hand. The next time we see each other, we'll have a new president of the United States. Joe Biden takes over. So we can only send our best luck to Joe Biden. Hopefully he can help the country out a little bit. I'm not going to get into some of the other extracurricular activity that took place over the last week because it's really not worth my time of day. All I can say is good luck, Joe Biden. We hope that you can certainly make a difference. But meanwhile, on behalf of my two partners, Mel Farr Jr. and Rick Curti, my name is Scott Morgan, Rothel Motor City Madmouth. Welcoming you guys to 2021, and thanks for joining us. And as Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon would say, I'm pardon the interaction. We'll see what we can do better the next time. So meanwhile, guys, have a great weekend, and we'll do it again next week. Good night, everybody. And once again, enjoy the football.